In the past, I've just fought and then taken time off totally. Just hung out and chilled out and then got back in the gym really out of shape. So this is the first time where I've spent consistent time in the gym since I was a young pro or early in my pro career. And so from that perspective, when the Danny Garcia fight was offered, I was like, I'm pretty sharp already. I had just come off the other camp. And even when I got cut, I stayed with my road work. I didn't even stop running, so I didn't stop working out. So I was like, I don't even have to really worry about my weight a lot. I'm pretty sharp. I just got to continue to get sharp. So I don't see it as being as rusty as people might think. I look at it as I'm getting a big fight and an opportunity to get it at a pretty good time because I've been in the gym consistently, and I think that's going to really show itself because I feel real good in the gym right now, it's one of the reasons I'm excited for the fight. Yeah, everybody's got their good qualities and bad qualities. I'm sure there's things that trouble me as well, but yeah, I'm sure Garcia's going to be plenty ready for my style, and I'm going to be plenty ready for his style. And when I'm sharp, I don't mind testing myself against anybody in the world.
Danny's still the man at 140, but some people, they think he's regressing in his last couple fights. Do you see that, or is he as good as ever?
I think Danny's just fine. The thing about the media and the fans are they're very fickle. And boxing is what have you done for me lately. Danny Garcia did not have an easy road coming up the ladder. Even before he won a world title, he had to fight guys like Kendall Holt, Nate Campbell, Mike Arnudis. These are not easy guys to deal with even before you're in your big fights. So I think people choose to forget that path, and he didn't have as easy of a path as certain other fighters have. That the media is pretty much blowing right now. You know what I mean? So if you look at it that way, you can't go to Danny and say, well, he hasn't looked so good, because Danny's been taking on tough fights for a while, and even the Rod Salka fight, okay, so it was a guy he shouldn't have been fighting. He was a guy who was a super featherweight. Rod Salka was actually, if you actually watch Rod Salka, he's actually a pretty good super featherweight. He's actually a pretty good fighter. He's just not a junior welterweight, but it's, I guess you gotta.
Danny did what he was supposed to do.
Danny did what he was supposed to do. But of course, there's certain styles that trouble Danny, and there's certain styles that trouble me. I'm sure come fight night we'll be ready for each other.
Do you think he has a good style for you? Do you match up well with what he brings to the table?
I think when I'm sharp, I can be in the ring with anybody in the world. There's certain nights in my career where I've been so sharp that I really felt like nobody in the world could beat me, and I plan on being that sharp on fight night.
Hey, Paulie, you already know the keys to victory is to take away your opponent's best weapon, and you know how to break down people's flaws and their best weapons. What weapon do you have to take away from Danny Garcia? What's his flaws and what's his strengths?
Well, it's tempting to the naked eye, people think about the hook, but Danny Garcia was a really good amateur as well. So if you think about a guy who was a good amateur, he has to know how to fight, he has to know how to box as well. If you look at it from one-track mind and say, you got to take away Danny's hook, Danny didn't win in the amateurs just because he has a left hook. You know what I mean? If you win in the amateurs, you got to know how to box, you got to know how to fight. So to say you got to just watch for Danny's hook would be a pretty ignorant thing to say, So I'm training for a complete fighter. I'm training for multiple weapons that I got to watch for that I've noticed. And again, when I'm sharp, I feel like I can neutralize a lot in a man's style, and I plan on coming in really sharp.
So this is going to be a very fun news conference.
It might not. We'll see. I'm more focused on Danny than I am on anything else. So we'll see. We'll see how I'm fighting.
Paulie, a lot of people make a lot about catch weights. A lot of the fans they really dislike them, but is that fair of them to get as mad at catch weights these days, or do they not impede on the fight as much as people think?
I don't like catch weights. I had to deal with it when I fought Juan Diaz. I didn't like it. Personally, I think I'd rather not have to deal with catch weights, but it's all in boxing and in business in general, it's all about leverage. So the fighter with more leverage will impose himself on the fighter with less leverage. And so when you have less leverage, you kind of have to deal with it. If you want that particular fight, you take it under those terms or you don't take it. Nobody's forcing a certain fighter to take another fight if he doesn't like the catch weight. But of course, when the money's thrown in your face, you say, all right, I guess I'll deal with the catch weight. Complain about it, but you'll deal with it. Personally, am I a fan of it? No, I'm not a fan of it. But does it mean I can get rid of them? No, it doesn't mean anybody can get rid of them. I guess we'll see what happens.
How well do you know Danny Garcia? I mean, did you watch him in the amateurs, ever spar or watch him spar?
No, we never sparred. He wasn't in the amateurs with me. We're a different generation of fighter. He was, I turned pro long before he was a senior amateur. I've seen him throughout his pro career, and I've seen him progress, and I've seen him make the strides he's made throughout his career, and I've seen him get better. And so from there you have to respect it. And I've seen him become a world champion, and that's not an easy thing to do. And again, he didn't have an easy road like some other fighters do. Danny earned it, I feel, and again, it's not nice to be fickle when it comes to fighters. I think this fight is a fight between two guys that the fans have been very fickle with. If you look at my last performance, my last fight, it was so bad that people make people are picking guys to beat me that are barely world champions or are barely all of a sudden I'll lose a fight like that and everybody beats me. This guy beats me, this guy beats me, this guy beats me. I'll be like, how does that guy beat me? He just got here. You know what I mean? So it just makes you realize fans are very fickle. I thought when I lost my first world title that it was just because I had one world title, so I hadn't established myself enough yet. And I said, you know what? I'm going to win a second world title. And even if I lose it, I'll get more respect after I lose it because, fans are going to realize now I won 2 world titles. But nah, one thing I learned about it is they're always fickle. So if I get back in the mix and win a big fight, don't be surprised if I just walk away on top next time, because I don't need to fight for the money. And then you could all kiss my ass if I get that far.
I think dog is Juan Diaz, you was clowning. I think you can upset Garcia too with it.
I don't know. There's been certain situations in my career where I've had my back to the wall and nobody gave me a chance. And, sometimes I've come up short and sometimes I've won. I feel really good going into this fight. I've been training all year. I feel good. The cuts, all right. Cuts, all right. So we'll see. I like having my back to the wall. I like having no pressure. I like, I remember going to Ukraine and everything I said, people were just laughing because they thought this guy's just here for a check. I remember going to Houston. Everything I said, people were just laughing. They were like, this guy's done. He's just here for a check. So no matter what I say going into this fight, it's going to be the same situation. People are going to say yeah, he's just talking. He's just here for a check. He's trying to cash out. So for me, I'm laughing inside because I know what I'm capable of, and I know the kind of damage I'm still able to do. So I look forward to it. Yeah, I am going to work a Showtime. Yeah, if my fight was on Showtime, I might have worked the fight and fought the fight at the same time. Yeah. Yeah, I'll be in El Paso. Yeah.
Are you going to train later?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. It's just a few days.
Have you
how you think fans and you're very fickle with fighters and
Always.
So the same thing goes out to you after you beat him pretty bad and now he wants to fight again. Is he done?
Well, that's the thing. People are, if you look at Zab before my fight, the last rounds he fought before he fought me were really good rounds he had against Garcia. With the end of the Garcia fight, where they were really good rounds with him. And suddenly he shows up against me, I dominate him, and he's done. A few rounds ago, he was fine. He was just fine. A few rounds ago, you were actually picking him to beat me because on the odds makers, the odds, Zab was favored to beat me. So, what happened? Hindsight is easily 20/20. Any fights I've had in my career, when I win them, they no longer become big fights. When I lose them, Paulie loses big fights. Going into the fights, though, when you're picking against me, it's not a big fight anymore because you're picking against me. But then when I win it, all of a sudden, a loss is important. It's important. So, again, I'm kind of over the whole fickle fan thing. I don't really worry about it. Like I said, I'm laughing inside right now. I'm laughing inside going into the fight because I know how ready I'm going to be come August 1st.
Paulie, I recall heading into the fight with Broner, people were so high on him, and you said, this guy isn't as good as Lakota I fought when he was undefeated. He's not as good as the Hatton I fought. Is Danny up there with those guys, though? And if you beat him, is that the signature victory of your career?
I think Danny has earned it a little bit more than Broner had at that time. At that time, I thought Broner was matched very carefully. I don't think Danny has been matched carefully at all. People are going to say, look at the Southpaw fight, look at the recent fights. Look at Danny's overall body of work. He wasn't matched carefully even on the way up. So I can't say it's the same kind of situation as when I fought Broner at that time. I think Garcia's earned his place among the elite today. Having said that, I do feel I fought a better version of Danny when I fought Miguel Cotto. I fought a guy who sets up his hook and can box, and I fought Danny but better, all right, when I fought Cotto. And I lost, but there was a lot more in that fight than you might think. And I feel like I had a learning experience from that. That's kind of how I'm looking at this fight. I feel like Danny can box when he needs to, otherwise he wouldn't have had the amateur career he had. He can punch, obviously, we all know that. But I have my own weapons that I plan on bringing to the table. August 1st.
How much does the lineal title, having a shot at winning that, being the first recognized champ? You've won titles before, but this would be the first lineal title. Does that mean anything to you heading into this, or is it just beating Danny Garcia?
I mean, the fight's at welterweight. So
That's right.
Yeah.
So,
Is it 447?
Yeah, 447. Plus, I don't give a shit about those, man. Those are things like fans make up. You know, like how can it be a lineal title if a guy retires with a title? Or, like, how can a title change hands? Like, you know, or a guy doesn't defend it against a certain guy, so that means certain guys never get a shot at the lineal title. What the hell is a lineal title? It's something fans made up just to have something cool to talk about. And for me, it makes no difference.
Hey,
You notice that he fades down the stretch, and it seemed to fade with Zab, he faded with Herrera, he faded with Peterson.
I'm not sure. You know, I thought he had decent late rounds against Herrera. I'm not sure. I don't know that it's more. I don't know that it's more him fading than it is his opponents figuring him out. You know, he's got to be a bit more. He's got to have a bit more dimensions to him. And I really plan on seeing a better Danny Garcia. I feel like, you know, not struggling to make 140 pounds will probably help him. You know, obviously he knows I have a tricky style, and I'm sure he'll be very prepared for that. I'm planning to see a different Garcia than we've seen recently, but I'll be prepared for the best Danny Garcia.
The one thing that all three of them had said to me when I spoke to them is that his punching power is real dangerous in the first six, not that dangerous in the last six.
Yeah, well, I feel like he's a big puncher regardless. He dropped Matisse in the last six. You know, he put Matisse on the canvas in the last six, so I can only take that with a grain of salt. I'll see that when I'm in the ring with myself.
being that it is at welter, do you think you're a more natural welterweight, or even though he's a pretty big junior welter coming up?
No, we're both ex-junior welters. I think we're the same kind of person. Nah, Manny Pacquiao got to worry about himself, man. You got to stop being a hypocrite and worrying about everybody else's situation about God. Manny Pacquiao got to go talk to God himself, and stop playing in front of everybody else, man.
Because were you surprised that he didn't even mention God's name after the fight? I mean, before he said God is going to deliver him into my hands, and then after the fight he never even.
If God was on earth, if Jesus was on earth, Manny would be in an argument with him, because Manny thinks he's Jesus. You see, Manny's blessing people and he's praying for people. Like, the guy thinks he's Jesus. He wants to be Jesus. He wants to be God. The guy's not worshiping God. If God was on earth, he would fight with him. He would fight with him. He would argue with him. I'm telling you. He would be like, no, his ego would be like, no, man, I'm that guy, not you. You know what I mean? Like, I'm telling you, look at him. He's a weird guy. The guy's blessing people. You seen him bless people? What the fuck? What are you, a priest? What the fuck? I mean, I don't know.
Did you see the interview where I think Freddie Roach said he was so pissed off at something? He said that if you show up to the wild card, Jim's going to fight you.
Yeah, man, that was crazy. Come on, Freddie.
Why is he so upset with you?
I don't know. Freddie knows I'm telling the truth. Freddie was a fighter at one time. He knows I'm not full of shit. Freddie was a fighter. If you were a fighter, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
So you believe deep down, because
Freddie
skill
knows.
recognizes skill, you believe Freddie thought
I believe
that-
real recognizes real more than anything, more than skill recognizes skill, and I think all fighters know that what Manny did is a bit far-fetched for a human being to pull off. You know? And not because people can say, oh, it's because you couldn't do it. No, not because I couldn't do it. I've been in gyms all my life. I've seen how weight matters. I've seen sparring sessions that I wasn't involved in. I've seen fights that I wasn't involved in. That doesn't happen, bro.
And it has nothing
And
to
Freddie
do-
knows that too, because Freddie's been in gyms all his life. So I give Freddie his respect. I'm arguing with an older man. I wasn't taught that way. But I know when Freddie puts his head on the pillow, he knows I'm right. More than anything, Manny Pacquiao, when he puts his head on the pillow, knows that I'm right. He knows I know what I'm talking about. And for me, I can go to sleep. My head on the pillow, nice. He walks on water. He wants to.
Paulie, go ahead.
Paulie, who would you like to see Pacquiao fight if he fight one more fight?
Crawford. Like him and Crawford. I think it's a makeable fight. And Crawford is one of the stars tomorrow. So yeah, it would be interesting.
The president of the Philippines, he said he wanted to see Manny Pacquiao retire. Is that somewhat of an inclination that he doesn't believe the shoulder excuse, and he just believes that Mayweather just had his number, or what?
I don't know. I don't believe the shoulder excuse. You know, if you wanted an injection, why don't you ask for a cortisone injection if you have an injury? Why do you have to ask for a Toradol injection? Nobody goes into the fact that the reason his injection request was rejected was because he asked for Toradol. If you ask for cortisone like everybody else does when they're injured, you would have got the okay. But USADA allows a cortisone injection if you have an injury? Why are you asking for Toradol? Because you never had an injury. You were just looking for an excuse to inject yourself with Toradol, so when it came up in your system, because you were going to get tested for it, that you would have had some kind of a exemption for it. You know what I'm saying? So for me, there was no injury. No injury. He was just looking for a weird way to try to get Toradol in the system before the fight. And then when it didn't work out, fuck it, let's just go with the same excuse. We look like shit, so let's just fly with this excuse now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And normally in the history of boxing, it seems to me that people forget about the excuses and they only remember the win. Do you think that's going to be the situation, or you think people will always remember the excuse that Manny Pacquiao had when it comes to this fight?
I don't even care.
Oh, you don't think he had surgery?
I'm sure he had surgery. I'm sure it was some kind of scope. Yeah. And it was not as
When I spoke to the doctor, he's one of the most renowned.
Did you ask him for the MRI? Because I'll ask him myself. I don't care how renowned he is. Let's show us the MRI. When I got cut, I put the shit on Twitter. So show us the MRI, and I'll get my own specialist, and I'll have my own specialist check out the MRI, and I'll have him tell you how severe a tear is. Why don't we see this MRI? Where is it? It's this mystery MRI. This severe tear. Where is it? Let's see it. It's the most talked about tear in sports. Let's see. Can we see it? Let's see it.
And Bob said he had that same injury since the Oscar De La Hoya fight.
Yeah,
so why did he get the surgery back
Oscar
then?
De La Hoya fight, I know. They don't know what they're saying. The one day they're saying he had it in the fight. The next day they're saying he's had it since the Oscar De La Hoya fight. Another time they're saying that he had it in camp. They don't know which excuse to use. One day they finger this excuse and they forget they used that excuse yesterday. So today they'll come over with a new one and they'll go back to the old excuse. Come on, man. We're gonna talk about the same thing all over again. And people get mad that I'm talking about Pacquiao. You guys ask me the questions, I answer them.
With Floyd Mayweather, now he's saying that he may try to break the record, the 49, and go 50. What two next opponents should he have? Should he face?
I don't know. You know, whoever's hot at the moment. You know, you don't know. I mean, right now he'll pick his opponent, but by the time he goes to number 50, you know, the welterweight landscape might change, and you know, he might shift, and you know, we'll see. It's hard to say who 2 fights from now should be. The next fight, you know, there's a lot of talk about Khan and some other fighters, but you know, we'll see. But it's hard to say who the last guy should be because the landscape can really easily shift by the time he gets there. You know, so we'll see.
And can you reiterate on what you said earlier? He was when you did the interview previously. You were talking about Floyd Mayweather on why it's not fair, you know, for him to have to fight Golovkin. Can you reiterate on that?
Well, with Golovkin, you know, he's a guy that fought in the Olympics at 165. Mayweather turned pro at 130 pounds. So you're asking Mayweather to go up his 5th or 6th weight class. Why are we not asking Golovkin to move up just 1 weight class? You know what? You know, you're asking this guy to test himself so many weight classes, but you're not asking Golovkin to move up just 1 to fight Andre Ward. I mean, just 1. Golovkin moving up just 1 weight class to fight Andre Ward already, you know, has them stuttering. It has them like thinking twice about it. But you want Mayweather to move up 5 or 6, his 5th or 6th, because regardless, any which way you flip it, it's still Mayweather's 5th or 6th weight class. No matter how many which ways you flip it. Well, he's 1 away from it. Yeah, he's 1 away from it now. It doesn't mean, in the grand body of work, is not his 5th or 6th weight class. So why don't we look at Golovkin against Andre Ward? I think it's a more makeable fight. It's a fight that people would love to see anyway. And you're asking Golovkin to move up just 1. It's a lot less of a hassle than for Floyd to move up 5 or 6.
I mean, what do you think? Do you buy that excuse when they say Ward's name is not big enough, but he just fought Willie Monroe? I mean, how does that work?
Whose name is not big enough?
They're saying Ward's name is not big enough for Golovkin to fight him.
I mean, anytime you don't want to, if you look at the history of boxing, anytime a fighter doesn't want to fight another fighter, they belittle him. You know, they say he's not a big enough name. It's been going on for decades, you know, so I think it's just the same situation there, you know, where it's like, I think I don't know if it's so much they want to avoid the fight, maybe they want to just build it up a little more, you know, and in some ways it's avoiding it, but I think eventually the inevitable does happen. I think over the course of history, when fighters don't want to fight other fighters, they belittle them a little bit, you know, and say they're not known and this and that, but eventually they do fight each other, you know, and it's been going on for a while, you know.
Is it another case of real recognize real?
Yeah, but the greats eventually fight each other, you know, and I remember Ray Leonard, the press conference on the Legendary Nights HBO documentary when they were asking him about Tommy Hearns, and he said, I will fight Tommy Hearns when he reached the popularity of Roberto Duran, you know?
Yeah.
But eventually they fought, you know, eventually they fought, so, you know, real recognizes real, and eventually they get in the ring and they fight each other. I think it's just a matter of knowing when to take that calculated risk and building it up just at the right time to fight just at the moment when you're both at your peak.
Okay, but
position, I would say, commentating. Did anyone ever give you any pressure or anything to be in a certain way, or because you say really what's on your mind?
Yeah. I say all the time what's on my mind. It's funny because people blame me for being Al Heyman's guy, but man, there's been times where I didn't agree with what Al Heyman's guy got. Like when Garcia got the Herrera decision, I was one of the most outspoken guys against that decision. So people are gonna believe what they want to believe. And they're just mad because I make certain choices that went out of my own career and my life. But when it comes to my commentating, trust me, there's no bias. You can see me going both ways with the way I commentate and the criticism I give. So nobody leans on me to say go this way or go that way. Trust me, I wouldn't listen to it anyway.
Was it harder or more difficult or easier than you thought it would be going in?
I didn't really give myself a degree of difficulty of how it was going to be. I just kind of approached it and looked at it as something fun, and saw how, because I didn't really know I was going to get the job at first. Like I just did it, and I didn't realize I was actually going to be hired. So for me, it's always been something like fun, and then I got the job, and I just continued to have that outlook on it, that approach. You take that approach to it, you can never go wrong.
An outstanding job. Very good.
Thank you.